Rise of the Dark Knight, The Reboot, Part 2. Gotham City, New Jersey, September of 1998. After Bruce Wayne decided to become a crime-fighting vigilante, he first decided he needed a base of operation. He can't just simply use his home as a base of operation. So he remembered about the cave he fell in as a kid. He always heard stories about the caves, that the caves was used by his ancestor, Judge Solomon Wayne, who was a member of the Underground Railroad, to hide runaway slaves on their journey north down there. So Bruce poured through the family archives, looking at old blueprints and everything. As he went farther and farther back, he discovered an old map of the property dated 1855. There was a drawing of the house and a drawing of a shed about southeast from the house. The drawing of the shed indicated that there was a elevator that went down to a cave. Then Bruce realized what it was. Over the years, the shed was probably torn down, and the elevator shaft that led to the cave was probably sealed up, and that's where he fell through as a kid. And he says to himself, "Eureka! I found it." Then he looked through the blueprints of the house from that time period, and he found in the sitting room there was a elevator that would go down to the cave. Bruce is like, well, finally, I'm making progress. He closes the books, and he goes down to the sitting room. He goes up to the lone bookshelf in the sitting room, and he feels on the bookshelf. Then he finally grabs the bookshelf, and then he slides it towards his right, revealing the secret elevator. Bruce says, "Wicked." He steps onto the antique pre-Civil War era elevator. He wonders if it still would work. So he pulls the lever, and the elevator starts lowering. Soon the elevator stopped as it reached the bottom. Bruce Wayne steps out and was amazed at the huge mammoth cave there. He said, "My God, it's beautiful." Bruce Wayne explored the cave, where he found an underground river and waterfall. Then he further explored the cave, where he found a lot of bats living in there. Finally, at the end of his exploration, Bruce came to an entryway into the cave, and to his surprise, as he exits the cave, he sees an old road that leads up to the entrance. These were back roads, more than likely long forgotten. Bruce said to himself, "Excellent. Now to begin the next phase of the project." The next day at Wayne Enterprises, Bruce Wayne figured that the only one who could fully develop the cave would be Militech. So he decided to learn how to forge the signature Lucius Fox. And indeed he did. He soon printed out a work order and forged Lucius Fox's signature and sent it to Militech. It was supposed to be, quote-unquote, a secret government project to build a military base underneath the cave. They were not going to question it. Bruce knew that. And so they did. They quickly began to work with developing the cave to Bruce's specification. The estimated timetable of the completion of the cave would be 4 months. Bruce said, "Excellent." Though the months went on, finally Christmas came and went, New Year's Eve came and went, and now it was New Year's Day. That also came and went. January 13th, 1999, Bruce Wayne had a small celebration for his 17th birthday. It was a small celebration with just a few friends and family, mainly Kathy, Dr. Tompkins, Aunt Harriet, and Lucius Fox. It was a nice little gathering, and as soon as it was over, he was back into his room developing his quote-unquote costume. He was working on designs of the costume. He had to be a bat. He was going through all the rough drafts and everything, plus his art skills weren't good at all. But he finally got a good design down. Well, the cave was finished by the end of the month. He went down there to explore. My God, he said, Militech did such a wonderful job. They put in ramps and everything, and they put in power. The power source they put in was a power source that Bruce Wayne acquired from Applied Sciences. Fully built, fully functional, but never used until now, experimental hydrogen generator. But now Bruce Wayne had to stock the cave. First thing he needed was a computer. A computer that could get the job done. So he ordered several computer cabinets and several Sun Ultra 60 workstation computers so he can make a makeshift supercomputer out of it. Then he goes on to order high-end lab equipment, microscopes, chemical analyzers, and specialized tools like tools to work on cars and tools to work on electronics like solder kits and an oscilloscope. Then Bruce Wayne goes down to Applied Sciences and starts cleaning out the place for his needs. He finds some very small, compact NIH-2 batteries, the same batteries that the space program uses for its satellites and other space-based vehicles. Wayne Enterprises developed compact versions years ago. Bruce looks at it, and they would come in handy for his usage. Then he takes the infantry suit, and then he takes the memory cloth. He also takes the experimental propane engine, and he also took several other little knickknacks here and there, including a grapple gun. The grapple gun was huge. It was probably the size of a sawed-off shotgun, but he needed it to help scale rooftops. Afterwards, he takes all those things back to the Batcave. Next, he needed a car to go with that engine, and he knew the one place he can go and get a car. Something more to his liking. He saw on the internet ad for 2 cars for sale at JV Customs, a big name customs garage in Gotham City. They take cars and they customize it either for racing or to look cool and different. So he goes out there to JV Customs. Bruce Wayne had disguised himself with fake goatee and a thick mustache, glasses, and he made himself look way older than he is, and he was going by an alias. The man who owned the shop, JV himself, comes up to the disguised Bruce Wayne. He's like, "Oh my goodness, you must be Don Cunningham. Hi, I'm JV Johnson, the owner of JV Customs. Come, Mr. Cunningham, let me show you what I have for sale." The first car was a bizarre-looking car. JV says, "Oh, this car is a Corvado. It's a Coronado on top of a Corvette frame with a Corvette engine that's highly modified." Bruce looks inside and he could see the interior was that of a 70s Corvette, but the exterior was that of a early 70s Cadillac Eldorado, heavily modified, of course. Bruce is like, no, not my type of car. Then he sees another car that caught his attention. It was beautiful, but it looked in pretty shabby shape. And he asks JV, "What about that one over there?" He pointed the car out. JV was like, oh, she is a beaut. That was the first car that I ever customized. That is what I call the 66. He goes on to explain, she is a cross between the 1966 Corvette and the 1966 Mustang. Bruce Wayne could clearly see where the two met. The center and back half was that of a 66 Mustang. The front half of the car was that of the 66 Corvette. And he said, "Wow, it's beautiful." Then Bruce asks JV, "You don't mind if I start it up?" JV says, "No, go ahead." And he gives Bruce the keys. Bruce opens the door, steps inside, puts the keys in the ignition, and starts up the car. And there he could hear the problems. Bruce could hear that the car engine sounded really bad. Then he revved it a little bit, and that's when he heard the other problems that arose when he revved the engines. Bruce turns off the car and he steps out, and then he asks JV, "How much you're asking for this?" JV says, "Well, Mr. Cunningham, I'm asking $30,000 for this." Bruce is like, "30,000? No. I'll probably have to put in 10,000 in repairs," said Bruce, "so I'll give you 20,000. JV says, "No, Mr. Cunningham, I really need the money." Then he says, "How about 26,000? Bruce says, "Well, Mr. JV, I can meet you halfway with that. How about 22,000? JV says, "Deal," and they shook hands on it, signed the paperwork, and Bruce paid in cash, and then he calls a tow truck to tow it back to his home. Now he had the car, and now he had to begin modifying it. He bought all the new parts needed for it, new suspensions for the extra weight, new drivetrain, new flywheels, new everything. And he also started ordering the stuff needed to armor the car, like ballistic steel and ballistic grade quartz for the windows. Meanwhile, on the streets of Gotham City, in a simple, unassuming sedan, were riding two men. Driving was Detective Flass, and in the passenger seat was Detective James Gordon, who was now just Captain. Well, he was no longer the 22-year-old young man that gave young Bruce Wayne comfort when he lost his parents. He was now a 31-year-old jaded detective who's been stuck in the same rank of captain for years. In the mid-90s, a man by the name of Jillian B. Loeb became the commissioner of the Gotham City Police Department. Loeb was a very corrupt individual who was under the thumb of none other than Carmine Falcone, the biggest crime boss in Gotham City. And thanks to Loeb, the entire police department eventually became corrupt. There was only a handful of honest cops left, and one of them was Jim Gordon. Now, just trying to survive every day, working with corrupt cops, and keeping his fingers crossed that one day, just one day, he's going to get that transfer and go to another police department, another city. But he only could hope. As the men were riding along in their car down the snow-covered streets of 22nd Street, Flass had spotted a bunch of kids out in the corner, hanging out, talking. Flass gets on the loudspeaker and says, "Hey, Johnny, does your mom know that you're skipping school today?" Johnny was your average teenage black kid, probably in his early teens, sporting dreadlocks and a leather jacket. He looked in terror as he saw Flass pulling up in his car. One of the kids that was with Johnny said, "Oh shit, it's the cops." Johnny says, "No, man, it's worse. It's Detective Flass." All the kids freaked out when they heard the name, and everybody ran. Flass gets out of his car and chases down Johnny in particular. He eventually chases Johnny down in a back alley and quickly tackles Johnny. He grabs him by the back of his leather jacket and lifts him up. He reaches into Johnny's pocket and he finds a switchblade handle, and then says to Johnny, "Well, Johnny, I could bring you into jail today for truancy and possession of a deadly weapon. But you know what? I'm in a good mood today, so I'm going to let you off with a little warning." Johnny's like, "Oh, no, Flass. No, man, don't. And then Flass proceeds to slam Johnny's head against the wall of the building, and then proceeds to wallop Johnny within an inch of his life. Then after he was done, he picks up Johnny and throws Johnny into the dumpster. Afterwards, Flass gets back into the car. He tosses Jim the switchblade, and he says to Jim, "The kid had that on him." Flass starts the car and drives off. As the car was driving off, Johnny opens the lid of the dumpster. His face was badly beaten. He had a black eye, he had a fat lip, he was bleeding from his nose, from his mouth, and from his head. And he says, "You're gonna get yours, you goddamn pig. You're gonna get yours one day, man, and I hope I never see it." As they were driving away in the car, Jim opens the switchblade, but there was no knife that came out. It was just a comb. He shows Flass. Flass said, "Well, sorry. You can't be too careful nowadays. Everyone's packing heat." Jim says, "Sure, Flass, sure. Everyone's packing heat." Well, as they were driving away, suddenly they hear on the radio,
Attention all units. Hostage situation at Spang Department Stores on 39th Street. All units available, please respond.
Jim says, "Flass, that's just around the corner from us." Flass says, "Yeah, I hear you, buddy." Then Flass rolls down the window, puts up the police spinning light, and turns on the siren and speeds off to the hostage situation. Moments later, they arrive to the department store. There were other cops surrounding the building, and then Jim asks, "Okay, what's going on?" One of the cops tells Jim, "Captain, we got some guy in there with a gun, and he's let most of the people out except for 6 people, and he's demanding that we let all the donuts free." Gordon was like, "What?" The cop says, "Yes, Captain, you heard me," as he tried to fight back the laughter. "He's demanding all the donuts be let free." Then the cop began to compose himself again. Gordon says, "Oh, just great. One of those guys." Flass says, "So, Jimmy, what's going on?" Then Gordon says, "Well, Flass, there's some crazy guy in there with 6 hostages, and he's demanding that we free all the donuts." Flass says, "Oh, great, another crazy idiot." He says to Gordon, "Let's just leave him for Brandon. Brandon will finish him off." Then Jim Gordon says, "No, Flash, are you crazy? Brandon will probably kill the hostages too. I can stop this. It's only him and only 6 people." Then Flash says to Gordon, "Nah, Jimmy, let Brandon handle this." Then Gordon says, "I got this. I know this place like the back of my hand. I shop here all the time." Then Jim Gordon says, "All right, I'm going in." Well, Jim Gordon goes in. He goes in through the side entrance and he sneaks in to the department store. Well, as he made his way to where the hostages were, he watches as the madman was pacing back and forth nervously with a gun, and one of the women says, I have to go to the bathroom, sir." Then the man says, "Would you shut up? Would you shut up? I can't hear myself think." As he was pacing back and forth, and it's like, "I wish they would tell me already if they're going to let the donuts go." Then Gordon steps out from his hiding place and screams, "Freeze! Drop your gun and put your hands in the air now!" Screamed Jim Gordon. The man quickly turns around, points his gun at Jim, but Jim quickly shoots the madman dead. The hostages, mainly women, were screaming, and the man fell dead. Then Jim gets on his radio and says, "It's safe to come in. The suspect has been shot. Repeat, it's safe to come in. The suspect's been shot." Well, the police come rushing in. They quickly take the women away. And then Flash says, "Well, good work, Jimmy. You actually did a very good job." Later, at the GCPD headquarters, in Commissioner Loeb's office, Flash was given his version of the story, and he says to Loeb, "Well, Jimmy did a good job. I'll admit, he's always been a good cop, but he just doesn't want to play ball with us." Loeb says, "Don't worry, good old Gordon will come our way one day. But in the meantime, the media is eating all this up, so this is going to be good press for us for once. So tell him on your way out that I want to see him." Flash says, "Yes, sir." He gets up, exits the office, and says, "Hey, Jimmy, the commissioner wants to see you." Then Gordon goes inside, sits down, and Loeb says to him, "Well, Captain Gordon, I believe congratulations are in order. You handled the situation very well. No one got hurt." Then Gordon says to Loeb, "I had to do it, sir. It was part of my job as a police officer. Plus, let's just say, I know Brandon's method. Loeb lets out a loud chuckle. You're very funny, Gordon, says Loeb. You're very funny. I mean, yes, Brandon's a little crude, but he gets the job done. Gordon says, no, Commissioner, sir. Brandon doesn't get the job done. Brandon usually destroys everything and usually accidentally kills the hostages in the process. Then Loeb says, well, Gordon, that's another topic for another time. And he continues to say, well, Gordon, I'm going to make sure you get a citation for this. This is great publicity for the department for once. Keep up the good work, and maybe you'll go up in rank finally, he says, with a bit of a mocking tone. Gordon says, yes, sir, and he asks Loeb, am I free to go, sir? Loeb says, yes, Gordon, yes, you're free to go. Keep up the good work. As Jim Gordon leaves the commissioner's office, he heads to the lounge to get coffee. The TV in the lounge was on the news, and he saw the special report involving the trial of Commissioner Loeb. The anchor lady said on the news, due to recent circumstances, the corruption trial against Commissioner Gillian B. Loeb of the Gotham City Police Department has been dropped after the witness that was going to testify against him has disappeared. Then Gordon says, God damn it! Always. Ugh! He was so mad. After that, then the anchor lady was talking about Gordon's heroic rescue at the department store. Gordon looked at the picture they had of him, and he said to himself aloud, really? They have the worst picture of me on file. Oh well, he says. He makes his coffee and gets back to his desk. But his heroic rescue also caught the attention of one certain individual who was looking for allies in the police department. March of 1999. Well, some time had passed, and Gordon's reputation kept on growing and putting the police department in good light, while Bruce Wayne was toiling away getting everything for his crusade against crime ready. Well, at the offices of Wayne Enterprises, Lucius Fox was noticing a few things that were amiss. Namely, certain things from Applied Sciences were missing, and somehow, someway, he authorized Militech to build some sort of military base and some cave network near Gotham Heights. He was very puzzled, and he figured probably one person was behind this, so he drives all the way to Wayne Manor and knocks on the door. Someone opens the door, and it was Aunt Harriet, and she says, oh my, Mr. Fox, what are you doing here? Lucius says, oh, Mrs. Cooper, I'm here to speak to Bruce Wayne. Is he home? She says, yes, Bruce is home. I don't know where he's been at. I haven't seen him since he got home from interning today. Then he says, may I speak to him? It's kind of important. Mrs. Cooper says, yes, come in, and I'll find him. So Lucius enters the house. Aunt Harriet closes the door and walks off to find Bruce Wayne. Then Bruce comes up and says, ah, Lucius, just the man I wanted to see. And then he shouts, never mind, Aunt Harriet, I found him. We're going to the sitting room. She screams, okay. So he says to Lucius, come on, Lucius, let me show you something in the sitting room. So they go into the sitting room, and Bruce asks Lucius Fox the important question. He says, Mr. Lucius Fox, can you swear to keep a secret? Lucius Fox is like, yes, I can keep a secret, depending on the secret. Then Bruce says, okay, I will tell you what's going on. And then Bruce went on to explain how he purposely left a trail that was visible to Fox to find. And he was explaining his plans on fighting crime and just the whole 9 yards. Fox took a moment to digest as he stood there holding his chin with his left hand. And then he says, okay, Mr. Wayne, just what have you been doing with Militech and all the stuff for Applied Sciences? Bruce says, follow me. He goes over to a bust of William Shakespeare on the table. Bruce grabs the head of the bust, pulls it back to reveal a hidden button beneath the head. Then Bruce presses the button, it glows yellow, and the bookshelf slides open, revealing the secret elevator. The two men enter the elevator. Bruce presses a button and the elevator goes all the way down to the cave. Once in there, the elevator door opens and the two men step out, and Bruce says, "Mr. Lucius Fox, I present to you my new base of operations. I christen it the Bat Cave." And then Bruce gave Lucius the tour, and Lucius says, "My God, Mr. Wayne, this is amazing." And then Bruce goes on to show Lucius what he did with all the stuff from Applied Sciences. He shows him a partially complete costume, and he says to Lucius, "Right over here, Mr. Fox, is the infantry suit, repurposed for crime fighting." Lucius saw a bat emblem on the chest now, and he saw what looked like a cowl on the table. And Bruce says, "Oh, that is the cowl for the suit, made of ballistic rubber. I'm still piecing it together. It'll be ready soon," he says to Lucius. And then Lucius noticed the memory cloth, and he noticed that the bottom of the memory cloth was cut into scallops to resemble a bat's wings. Then Bruce says to Lucius, "See this throat piece, Lucius? I put this over my throat, and then it'll alter the pitch of my voice so nobody recognizes who I am." Then Bruce puts on the throat microphone and he says,
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Then Bruce says to Lucius, as he puts down the throat mic, "Over here, Mr. Fox, let me show you my new car." He brings Lucius over to the Batmobile platform, and there it was, partially completed, the Batmobile. Then Bruce goes on to give Lucius the explanation. "Well, I used that prototype propane engine from Applied Sciences and the transmission that came along with it, and I bought myself a brand new, well, it's not brand new, it's very used. It's a custom car. It's a fusion of a 66 Mustang and a 66 Corvette. And I made some alterations to it. Besides the new engine and transmission, I modified the suspension to handle the extra weight of the armor and the weapons it'll have. Plus, I added some new features like very advanced traction control, limited autopilot, RC control, and a onboard computer and some nice display screens. And also for the weapons, if you're wondering, says Bruce Wayne to Lucius, it'll have forward-mounted 30 caliber Browning machine guns and forward-mounted rocket-propelled grenades, and for the rear defenses, smoke screen and oil slick. And if I need a quick speed boost, I was going to put in nitrous oxide, but I decided not to. But instead, I decided to put in this. Bruce shows Lucius the open trunk, and inside was a very simplified rocket motor. And he says, "This is what you think this is, Mr. Fox. This is a very small and simple rocket motor to give me a quick boost of speed, just in case I need to make a quick getaway," said Bruce. And Bruce said, "Oh, I almost forgot. The front and back bumpers are reinforced for ramming," said Bruce to Lucius. Lucius says, "Mr. Wayne, I am impressed with you. You show yourself to be a very mature young man and a very dedicated young man. I would normally probably think you were crazy, but for some reason I agree with you what's going on. This city has gone to hell, and the police won't do nothing about it, and the politicians won't do nothing about it. Maybe it's time we need someone, an individual, that would do something about this. And you've proven yourself to be this individual. You know how to utilize the resources of your company without being caught, and you were showing such great skill in building things." And Lucius says to Bruce, "Mr. Wayne, count me in. If you need my help, I'm always here." Bruce says, "Thank you, Lucius. Thank you. You don't know how much this means to me." And the two men shook hands. Like and subscribe. The end.